Hello friends, today we will study active-passive voice. Let's see what they are. Active voice begins with subject, the doer of the action. Passive voice begins with object, the receiver of the action. One who does the action is the subject, one who receives the action or something that receives the action is the object. I kicked the football. Football received my kick. That's an object. I beat a student up. Student received the beating. He is an object. So object is the one that receives the action and subject is the one that lets the action go forth, that does the action. For example, he shot the lion dead. The lion was shot dead. This is active voice. He shot the lion dead. Lion is the object, he is the subject. Why is he subject? Well, because it is performing the task. It is he who is shooting. It is he who shot the lion dead. And the lion received the bullet. Therefore, lion is the object. So in active voice, we begin the sentence with subject. In passive voice, we begin the sentence with object. When to use passive voice? Well, passive voice is used only when the subject is unimportant, less important or self-understood. It's not used everywhere. Passive voice is not a substitute for active voice. It's used only when the subject is what? Unimportant or less important or self-understood. The thief has been arrested. We're using passive voice here because we already know who arrests the thief. It's the police who do it. So we need not mention the word police. We need not say police have arrested the thief. We can just say the thief has been arrested. The room has been cleaned. Well, we don't want to mention the peon. It's obvious. It's self-understood who cleans the room. So the room has been cleaned. The subject is not important enough. The subject is not required here. It is self-understood. It is obvious. The washing machine has been fixed. Who does it? Well, the mechanic, the engineer does it. So it's been fixed. The emphasis is on the fixing of the object. The emphasis is on the cleaning of the room. The emphasis is on the arresting of the thief. Who is doing it is not so important, or is self-understood, or is obvious. The following would be stupid sentences. If I say lunch was taken by me, well, that's stupid. I took lunch. I'm important. Lunch was taken by me. I'm loved by my parents. Well, my parents love me. My parents is an important thing there. I need not use this in passive. They should be kept in active voice. So let's learn how to change the simple present tense into passive. The structure is, am, are plus past participle form of the verb. Always remember, past participle form is the third form of the verb, and in passive voice we use third form of the verb. Always. We sell rice here. That's the active voice. Now we put the object in the first place, so rice will go there, rice, and then first form will change into is, am, are plus third form. We have to choose one of the three, is, am, are. Rice will take is, so rice is sold here. We need not say rice is sold by us here, or rice is sold here by us. We need not say that, because if the subject is so important, why do you use the passive? Use active. Does he sell rice here? Well, it's a question, and a question begins with a helping verb or with a question word. It is beginning with a helping verb. So we'll use one of the helping verbs. We have got is, am, are. One of these we'll use, okay? So it has to be in accordance with the object, and the object here is rice. So we'll say is rice sold here. Is rice sold here. Present continuous. How to change present continuous into passive voice? Let's see. The structure is, am, are, being, third form of the verb. We have to use one of the three, is, am, are, and then being is a must in the passivization of present continuous tense, and then third form of the verb, past participle form of the verb. The teacher is punishing the student. The teacher is punishing the student is the active voice, is the present continuous tense, and we'll change this like this. The student is being punished. The student is the one that is receiving the action, that is receiving the punishment, and so the student is the object, and the object has to be placed in the first place in passive voice. So the student is being punished. We just have to follow the structures, and if we do that, it will be correct. Is the teacher punishing the student? Well, so it's beginning with the helping verb, and we'll begin it like this then. Well, it has to be in accordance with the object. What's the object? Student. So we'll say is the student. We can't say am the student. We can't say are the student. We can just say is the student. So is the student being punished? Is the student being punished? Present perfect. Let's see how to change the present perfect tense into passive. What's the structure? Well, the structure is has, have, been plus past participle form of the verb, which is third form of the verb. So has, have, been, third form. Always remember we use been in perfect tenses, in the passivization of perfect tenses. My brother has written this letter. Now, my brother is the subject, has written is the verb, this letter is the object. And how will we change this into passive? We have to put this letter in the beginning. This letter has been written by my brother if it is too necessary. So this letter has been written. Has my brother written this letter? Well, so has this letter been written by my brother? So the helping verb has to be in accordance with the object. The object is this letter, and it is a singular object, and since it's singular, we'll use has. Simple past tense. We don't change the perfect continuous tenses into passive, so we are omitting that. Simple past tense. What is the structure to change the simple past into passive? It's was, were plus third form. What was the structure for changing the simple present into passive? Well, it was is, am, are third form. And the structure for changing the simple past into passive is was, were third form. So was, were plus past participle form of the verb. Antony avenged Caesar's murder. Okay, it's an example or a sentence of simple past tense. We have to change this into passive. What's the object? Well, the object is usually found after the verb, and so Caesar's murder is the object. So Caesar's murder will come in the first place, and Caesar's murder was avenged by Antony. Did Antony avenge Caesar's murder? Well, was Caesar's murder avenged by Antony? Did is a helping verb. We have to use a helping verb for helping verb, and it has to be in accordance with the object. Caesar's murder is singular, so we'll take was and not were. Next, past continuous. Let's see how to change the past continuous tense into passive. Well, the structure is was, were, being, third form. Well, the structure for changing the present continuous into passive was is, am, are, being, third form. And in past continuous tense, the structure for changing the past continuous tense into passive is was, were, being, third form. So the difference is only of is, am, are and was, were. Is, am, are in the present continuous tense, and then was, were in past continuous tense. And always remember, in passivization of continuous tenses, you must use being. So was, were, being, third form. His friend was distributing sweets. Now, sweets were being distributed by his friend. Now you see, his friend is the subject, was distributing is the verb, and then sweets is the object. Sweets will be put at the first place, sweets, and then sweets is plural here, so were not was, were, and then being distributed by his friend. Was his friend distributing the sweets? Oh yeah. Were the sweets being distributed by his friend? Were the sweets being distributed by his friend? Past perfect. Let's see how to change the past perfect tense into passive. Had been plus past participle form of the verb, had been third form. Well, the structure for changing the present perfect into passive was what? Has, have, been, third form. And in the past it would just be had been, third form. They correspond with each other. Had been, third form. So always remember, been must be used in the passivization of perfect tenses. Example, the potter had already made the pots. The potter is the subject, had, made is the verb, already is an adverb, and then the pots is the object. What had he made? The pots. So the passive would be the pots had already been made. the pots would come to the first place, and then the verb, and like that. Had the florist sold all the flowers? Now had is the helping verb, the florist is the subject, and sold is the verb, main verb, and all the flowers is the object. So we have to use helping verb for helping verb, and we just have had in passive voice also, so we'll use had again. Had the flowers been sold? As easy as that. Simple future or future simple. We don't make the perfect continuous tenses into passive. So simple future. The structure for changing the simple future into passive would be will, shall, be plus third form. Will, shall, be third form. So I shall finish this lecture soon, and so that's the active voice, and it must be changed into the lecture will be finished soon. The lecture cannot take shall because I was taking shall there. Lecture will take will. The lecture will be finished soon. The lecture is the object, will be finished is the verb, soon is an adverb. Will you finish the lecture soon? So helping verb for helping verb, will for will, and then lecture. Will the lecture be finished soon? Future perfect. So the structure for changing the future perfect tense into passive is will, shall, have been, past participle. Will, shall, have been, third form. Well, we did not change the future continuous into passive. Why? Because it's not changed. It's impracticable. It's not required. We can do all English communication without the passivization of perfect continuous tenses and future continuous tense. So we are doing future perfect tense and it's passivization. So will, shall, have been, third form. Okay, perfect tense does take been. We know that. So the example is I shall have completed the work by 2 p.m. So will have, third form, will be changed into will have been, third form. And what's the object? The verb. I is the subject, shall have completed is the verb, and then the work is the object. By 2 p.m. is an adverb. And so the work will go to the first place. The work will have been completed by 2 p.m. Shall I have completed the work by 2 p.m.? So it should be will the work, okay? Helping verb for helping verb, and work cannot take shall. So will the work have been completed by 2 p.m. Now, that was all about tenses, how to change the tenses into passive. Now we're looking at when a verb takes two objects. When a verb has two objects, we have just done sentences that had only one object, but here there are two objects in the following sentences. So in changing to passive voice, one of the objects becomes the subject and the other is retained as object. You know, one of the objects is taken to the place of the subject and the other one retains its place. It remains in the middle of the sentence. So I taught them English. Well, I is the subject, taught is the verb, them is an object because they were receiving lessons from me. English is the subject that I was teaching them, or the language that I was teaching them. Which language was I teaching? English, okay? So English is also an object. So them is an object, English is an object. We can use either of the objects, okay? So let's see, English, we take English first. English was taught and then to them. Now to will precede them. Or we can say they were taught English. English was taught to them or they were taught English. I gave him some money. So he was given some money or some money was given to him. Okay, I lent him a book. So he was lent a book or a book was lent to him. Like that. So when a verb takes two objects, we can put either of the two in the first place and the other one retains its place. But if it's a human being, then we have to use a preposition to before them usually. How to change the imperative sentences into passive? Imperative sentences are orders, requests or advice. So orders. So how do we change that into passive? Well, we use let plus object plus be plus third form. Let object be third form. Or we say you are ordered to plus first form, present form of the verb. Okay, so close the window. So we can say let the window be closed, or we can say you are ordered to close the window. Let the window be closed, or you are asked or ordered to close the window. For request, how do we do? You are requested to, present form of the verb. Requested to and then first form. Please come on time, active voice. Now you are requested to come on time. Please help the poor. You are requested to help the poor. As easy as that. If sentence starts with let, well, this is another kind of imperative sentence. If the sentence starts with let, what do we do? Well, it's also very easy. The structure would be let plus object plus be plus third form. The same. So let him bring some chocolates. So what will we do? Let and then object, some chocolates be brought. Let some chocolates be brought. Let her do the assignment. Let the assignment be done. As easy as that. So prepositions after verbs. So certain verbs are always followed by prepositions. So a preposition after the verb must be retained in passive voice. So the preposition after the verb must be retained in passive voice. For example, they laughed at the poor beggar. Well, they laughed is second form of the verb, which is simple past tense. How do we change the simple past into passive? Well, we use was, were plus third form. Okay, so the object is the poor beggar. So the poor beggar was laughed, and at will follow. We can't omit this at. It must go with laugh. The preposition that follows the verb in the active voice will follow the verb in the passive voice too, no matter how awkward it may seem. They looked after the girl. Well, the girl was looked after. After is the preposition following looked, and so it will be the same in passive voice too. Passivization of two infinitives. Two infinitives is to plus first form. How do we change them into passive voice? Well, structure would be subject plus verb plus object plus to be plus third form. Subject, verb, object, to be, third form. I want to write a letter. So subject, subject for subject, I for I. Verb, want for want. Okay, and then object. What's the object here? What does he want to write? A letter. So a letter should go there. I want a letter, and then to be, and then the third form. I want a letter to be written. I want a letter to be written. Now look at this one. Jack expects Jill to fetch a pail of water. So Jack expects, okay, a pail of water. Jack expects, subject and then verb, okay, object is a pail of water. Jack expects a pail of water to be fetched by Jill. Jack expects a pail of water to be fetched by Jill. And there is another way to make it into passive, and that's, well, Jill is expected by Jack to fetch a pail of water. Okay, Jill can be the object. Jill is expected by Jack to fetch a pail of water. That's also possible. Passivization of that clause. How will we change that into passive? Well, it and then helping verb, past participle form of the verb, and then that plus and whatever follows. So we'll see it. They say that she is a teacher. Well, what will we do? We'll say it and then is said. Okay, say is present tense, so we'll say it is, and then third form. It is said that she is a teacher. It is said that she is a teacher. Okay, another way to make this into passive is you know, she is said to be a teacher. She is said to be a teacher. They say that a saint cursed this place. Well, it is said, they say is in present tense, and so we'll use is. It is said that a saint cursed this place. Okay, or we can say a saint is said to have cursed this place. To have cursed because it's past tense. So to have cursed. Okay, a saint is said to have cursed this place. Exercise. Complete the following sentences using the correct form of the verb in the bracket. The historical monument thousands of years ago. What? The subject is not there, the object is there. What was built? Well, a historical monument. So the historical monument, what? Was built thousands of years ago. Easy? Mohan received a letter by his friend after 10 days. Now, Mohan received a letter. Which letter? Well, the letter written by his friend. It should be written. Mohan received a letter written by his friend after 10 days. The money stolen by a servant. Well, the money was stolen by a servant. It has been discovered who stole it, and so they are saying the money was stolen by a servant. If somebody says the money has been stolen by a servant, that is also right. Her marriage outfit by the famous designer Ritu Berry. So our marriage outfit was designed or is being designed or will be designed by the famous designer Ritu Berry. The largest flyover last month in Delhi. Well, last month, so it's past time, and so it should be was constructed. This work at the moment means at the moment of speaking. So this work is being done. When something is going on at the moment of speaking, it's present continuous tense. And what's the structure to change the present continuous tense into passive? Well, it's is, am, are, being plus third form. This work is being done at the moment. Spot errors in the following sentences. Had I worked hard, I would not have scolded by my parents. Well, it's crazy to say that because, would not have scolded is perfect tense, and in the passivization of perfect tense, we have to use been, B-E-E-N. So it should be, I would not have been scolded. Last night, my house ransacked by a thief. Well, my house, what? My house was ransacked by a thief, but fortunately, he could not steal my jewelry. Our 2 crore rupees will be required to renovate the building. Being damaged during the cyclone? Being damaged? Well, that's not possible. That was damaged. Okay, the building that was damaged, or the building damaged during the cyclone. Okay, like that. A consultant is being appointed to advise us on the viability of the project. Well, is been? Well, been is used in perfect tense. So has been would be the right one. By whom was he supported when he seriously hurt? When he seriously hurt by the death of his, well, when he was seriously hurt by the death of his 2 friends within a week. Thank you.